You are wrestling the other boys in the courtyard of Jerusalem. Stone walls, blinding sun, dust on your knees. You are winning. Your tutor William watches from the shade. He watches you dig your fingernails into another boy's forearm. The other boy screams and pulls away. You feel nothing, no pressure, no pain, nothing below the elbow on your left arm. William calls you over quietly. His face is flat. He takes a pin from the fold of his robe and presses it into your forearm slowly, deliberately, watching your eyes the whole time. You watch the pin go in. You feel nothing. He asks what you feel. You tell him the truth. His expression doesn't change, but something behind his eyes shifts. Something closes. He sets the pin down. He does not say another word. And from that moment forward, William of Tyre, the most learned man in Jerusalem, never looks at you the same way again. Do you know what it means when a child cannot feel pain? You don't. Not yet. The physician speaks for a long time behind the closed door. You sit in the corridor on a stone bench and listen to the sound of nothing. Your father, King Amalric of Jerusalem, walks out first. He does not look at you. He walks past you like you are furniture. Like meeting your eyes would cost him something he cannot pay. The physician steps out second. He looks directly at you. His hands hang at his sides. He says nothing. You are 10 years old. You understand anyway. Not the slow kind. The aggressive kind, the kind that takes your fingers before your face and your face before your eyes and your eyes before your mind. While the world sits in a circle and watches and waits for you to stop moving. They never say it to you directly. They never do. But you are the crown prince of the kingdom of Jerusalem. And every man who looks at you from this moment forward is already performing the same calculation. Asterisk, how long does he have? And what do I do when he's gone? Your father is dead. Dysentery. 3 days and then silence. They dress you in gold. The crown of Jerusalem is too heavy for your neck. You feel it pressing down. And you tell no one that your left hand can no longer fully grip the scepter. You hold it anyway. You adjust. You hold it with both hands. And no one notices, or no one says so. The Patriarch of Jerusalem anoints you. 200 men kneel on the stone floor of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Counts, barons, knights who have fought in the desert for a decade, merchants who have more money than most of those knights, priests who believe this city is worth dying for. Every single one of them is already calculating how long before the throne opens up again. You look out at all of them. You sit very still. You let the silence stretch. The whole room is asking one question without speaking it. Asterisk, how long? Asterisk, you give them nothing. You take your seat on the throne of the holiest city in the Christian world. You are 13 years old, and you let every ambitious man in that room wonder. Raymond of Tripoli runs Jerusalem, not you. That is the official arrangement. A child with leprosy does not run a kingdom. That is what powerful men decide when a child with leprosy inherits one. Raymond is intelligent, calculating, and patient. He has spent years accumulating proximity to the throne, and now the throne belongs to a sick 14-year-old who is not supposed to interfere. Raymond negotiates. Raymond governs. Raymond makes decisions he was supposed to bring to you and doesn't. You watch all of it. You say nothing. You file everything, every slight, every bypass, every moment where a man chose the regent's ear over the king's seat. Your mother Agnes circles the court in the opposite direction. She despises Raymond. Raymond returns the sentiment. Between the two of them, Jerusalem's nobility splinters along invisible fault lines. Raymond's faction, Agnes's faction, and the barons who haven't decided yet which direction the wind is blowing. You are 14 years old, losing sight in your left eye, and the most powerful men in the Latin East are governing your inheritance as if you are already dead. Asterisk, would you have stayed quiet at 14? Or would you have moved sooner? Saladin crosses the border with 26,000 soldiers. He moves fast, cavalry, archers, infantry, siege equipment. He is the most brilliant military commander in the Islamic world. He does not lose battles he chooses to fight. He does not overextend. He reads terrain the way other men read faces. You ride out to meet him with 500 knights and a relic of the true cross. Let that number sit for a moment. 500 against 26,000. On open ground near the plain of Montvisard. Your physicians beg you to stay back. Your generals go quiet in the way men go quiet when they believe something is already over. You lead the charge yourself. You hit Saladin's column at the exact moment it is strung out across the plain, overextended, not yet formed, moving fast and unprepared for contact. You drive 500 knights into the left flank like a spike. The column buckles. The cavalry folds back on the infantry. Saladin's formations break before they can form. His soldiers scatter across the desert for days. Saladin himself escapes on a camel, not a warhorse. A camel with a small guard. He rides without stopping for 4 days before he slows down. You are 16 years old. You just broke the greatest general of the age on an open field. The whole of Christendom hears your name. Church bells ring in Rome. Pilgrims weep in Florence. 4-1 suspended. Impossible moment. It feels like Jerusalem might hold forever. It will not hold forever, but it holds today, because you refuse to calculate the odds. You cannot feel your right hand now. The fingers curl inward and will not open fully. You have relearned how to hold a sword with your wrist locked at an angle. You adapt the way you always adapt, without ceremony, without announcing it, without asking anyone's permission to keep going. The disease advances the way Saladin's army could not, methodically, without error, patient in the manner of something that does not get tired. Your face begins to change. You stop using mirrors. The barons of Jerusalem are already managing succession openly now. You have no wife you refuse to marry. You will not pass this disease to a child who never chose it. You have no heir. Every man with ambition has started measuring bloodlines and drawing up contingency plans and whispering in corridors about what happens to the throne when the king's body finally stops cooperating. You hold court. You sign documents by pressing your seal with your wrists when your fingers can no longer grip the stamp. Nobody mentions it. You do not ask them to pretend otherwise. You simply keep moving, and they keep moving with you, because the alternative is admitting that Jerusalem has no one left worth following. What would you do if your own body became your worst enemy, and you still had a city to protect? Saladin tests the border again. He is patient in the manner of a man who understands that time belongs to him in a way it will never belong to you. He only has to wait. You have to fight. You ride out again. Your arm strapped. Your left eye giving you shadows instead of shapes. Your physicians lay out arguments for staying inside the walls. You tell them to ready your horse. You negotiate a truce that holds 2 full years. You manage it through presence alone, arriving in person, refusing to appear diminished, forcing the men across the table to sit with the reality that the dying king of Jerusalem is sharper and more prepared than anyone they expected. You sit straight. You speak clearly. You do not flinch when the silence is meant to pressure you. The truce holds. 2 years. In the arithmetic of your life, 2 years is an enormous amount of time. Every extra day Jerusalem stands is a day you purchased with what you have left. You understand this math better than anyone in that room. Nothing from the left eye now. The right eye gives you shapes and brightness and rough outlines. Not faces, not expressions, not the direction a man's eyes move when he is lying. You learn your advisors by their voices, your commanders by the sound of their horses. You still mount every morning, with a squire steadying your leg now, with 2 men holding the horse's head, but you mount. You arrive at every council on horseback. You leave the same way. Your sister Sibylla has married Guy of Lusignan. He is vain, politically reckless, and catastrophically unqualified to govern anything more complicated than a banquet. He is also the man positioned to inherit your throne through Sibylla's bloodline. The barons who followed you at 16, the men who rode into the desert at Montbessard, who watched you hold Jerusalem with a body that was already failing, they look at Guy of Lusignan and feel the future tilting wrong. You feel it too. You cannot see their faces, but you feel it in every room. Guy is furious. Sibylla is furious. Your mother is furious in 3 different directions simultaneously. The court fractures along the same fault lines it always fractures along, and you manage it the same way you always manage it, steadily, without giving an inch. You name your nephew Baldwin, Sibylla's 5-year-old son from her first marriage, as your heir and successor. You appoint Raymond of Tripoli as regent, not because you trust Raymond, because Raymond is competent, and competence is the only currency that matters now that you are almost out of time. You are 22 years old. You are arranging the world for after you. Think about that for a moment. At 22, you are already writing your own ending with clear eyes. Is that courage? Or is it what it costs to know exactly how your story ends and refuse to leave a mess behind? They carry you into the throne room on a litter now. Both eyes are gone. Your hands are gone. Your face, you have asked them not to describe it to you, and they have honored that request. What matters is that your voice still works. Your mind still works. Your capacity to read a room by sound and silence still works. You run Jerusalem from a litter. Reports come to you and orders go out from you, and disputes are settled in front of you, and neighboring powers are threatened by you, all without standing, all without seeing, all without hands. You are the most consequential disabled ruler in the medieval world, and you operate your kingdom with the same coldness you operated it with at 13. Saladin watches from across the border. He sends emissaries with terms. He offers you peace with provisions he knows you will not accept. He is not taunting you. He is, in his own way, taking his time with someone he respects. You refuse his terms. You have always refused. You remove Guy from the regency a second time. Formally, in front of the full court, you have yourself carried into the great hall on your litter, blind, both hands gone, your voice the only weapon you have left. Every man in that room knows you are dying. You know you are dying. This is not a secret anyone is keeping from anyone. You give the order anyway. Your voice does not shake. You state your reasons without theatrical pause. Raymond of Tripoli will serve as regent for your 5-year-old nephew. The succession is documented, witnessed, and sealed. Then you are carried back out. You have 11 years on the throne of Jerusalem. You took the crown at 13, the sickest prince in the Christian world. And every year since then men with full use of their hands and eyes have tried to step around you, over you, or through you. None of them managed it. The fever rises hard in March. Your physicians come into the room. One of them steps back from the bed. He says nothing. You know, Jerusalem is holding. The truce lines stand. Your nephew sits on the throne. Raymond watches over him. It is not a perfect arrangement. You know better than anyone that no arrangement in Jerusalem stays perfect. But it is intact. It is functioning. You built it to survive you, and it will. You have been king for 11 years. 6 engagements against Saladin. Not one surrender. Not one moment where you handed the city over and told someone else to carry it because the weight was too much for a body that was supposed to stop working a decade ago. You refused every time. You refused the disease the right to make you smaller. You refused your barons the right to govern in your absence. You refused Saladin the city when he had every military reason to expect it. You close your eyes, or they are already closed. It is difficult to tell. Now, the difference. Jerusalem falls to Saladin in October of 1187. The city you held through a rotting body and a court full of men who wanted your throne. It falls 2 years after you are gone. Saladin enters through the gates. He treats the population with mercy. Historians will note this for centuries. They will compare it to what the Crusaders did when they took the same city in 1099. They will also note the name of the king who held it longest against him, the Leper King, the blind boy on the litter, the 16-year-old who rode into 26,000 soldiers with 500 knights and came back walking. Saladin himself, the man who finally took Jerusalem, who outlasted you, who had every resource and all the time in the world on his side when asked about Baldwin IV, says he never faced a more difficult opponent. Do you understand what that means? The man who conquered Jerusalem named you the hardest thing he ever fought. Not the walls, not the army, not the terrain. You governed the holiest city on earth with a body that was actively killing you from age 10. You never married because you refused to pass your disease to a child who didn't choose it. You never abdicated because stepping down was the one thing Jerusalem could not afford. You held court blind. You issued orders without hands. You rode to war strapped into the saddle on a horse you could not feel beneath you. You were 24 years old when it ended, and now you are history.